Hey, my friends, we are back here for part two with Abbie Tait and her courageous story. Her openness, her honesty, those things that are going to help you or family members struggling with infidelity, disconnection, or healing. So stay tuned for this transformational episode. Welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm Kendra Nielsen, wife, mom, and licensed therapist. Do you ever feel like you're doing everything right, but you're still exhausted and empty? Did you think life, marriage, and parenting would be simpler and more rewarding? Sometimes you just want to crawl back into bed and lose yourself in screen time and chocolate, rather than face that personal or family stress. You are not alone. This podcast helps you break free of the rat race and build a richer, more meaningful life, flourishing incrementally and realistically, improving your mental health and wellness, and living with deeper purpose beyond the mundane, no matter where you are in life's journey. So I guess in this story, what I'm asking is, why would people then be motivated to want to come back from it if what you're saying is true, that all of these natural consequences, these terrible things they don't want to risk, it's just easier to keep quiet and to not do anything and just forget about it and move forward? What would you say to that?
I don't think that happens. I think it's going to come out at some point, and if it doesn't, it will just slowly eat at you, and I don't think you will be able to genuinely create true intimacy with any partner or any relationship, really. If you're always keeping a part of yourself secret, we just talked about that, the secret itself is what keeps you stuck. The only way for real intimacy is by inviting someone into it, and that takes risk. You're never gonna enter into intimacy without risk, and the risk is they may not accept me. If you go to your spouse and you're like, "I screwed up," they may say, "I'm done." They may leave you, but at least you showed up in a way that you no longer are burdened by that secret, and then you're just dealing with it head on, and that's respectable. It's still hard, but there is still a chance that they'll respond with, you need to give them space to still be angry and feel all the things they need to feel, but the priority should be them. The priority should be like, I am telling you this, and I'm also here for whatever you need because I know that I have hurt you. My decisions have put us in this position. And you're now inviting like a deeper level of intimacy that you probably never even had. And it's probably the thing that you have craved more than anything to have with your partner. And now you're stripping them of the opportunity to do it by keeping secret. But if you are brave enough to not live in that secret and to go to them and offer them this opportunity for a deeper connection, you're allowing the relationship to have at least a chance at being better than it was before by going through something really hard and trusting them with that. Like, I do hair, and I have a lot of clients who will open up to me and talk to me about difficult things they've gone through. And I have clients who have been together a very long time, and they'll open up about how they got through infidelity. And it's not like these couples who've been together for 60 plus years never went through some of those things. They just still chose each other. I'm not saying that's right all the time, but we have to at least give the opportunity for it. And we also can, even if it doesn't go the way we hope, we can still be proud of the way that we handled it.
Absolutely. You had so many good like one-liners. I wish I could have quoted like so many things that you said, but like intimacy equals risk. And you said they probably never even had it before. That's exactly what I'm seeing with all of my clients. They feel like they have, yeah, I have a pretty good marriage. We love each other. That's all that matters. But as you explore it more, like you even talked about in your marriage, how there were these wedges that maybe you weren't even aware of because of the busyness of life. And there's this level of connection and this deeper intimacy that's available that they don't even know about. And often that can come out through something like this. Hopefully, it's in those beginning stages, like you said, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have just said, I'm afraid of this. This feels good, and done it then. But even if they do it later, yes, they risk losing both, which was your biggest fear. And how much would that potentially, in your situation, would that have improved things had you approached him before he found out? Or again, not for the shame thing, but had you gone about it in that brave way where you were true to yourself? Can you speak to that at all?
I don't doubt that we could have worked through it. I think we loved each other enough that we could have worked through it. I think had I been the one to go to him, sure, maybe we would have separated for a little bit, or he would have been really angry with me for a while. I don't know. I can't say how he would have responded, but I do believe he loved me enough that he would have given me a chance to fight for it. One part I do want to point out is I do think that maturity alone does have a big impact. I look back on that now and think how much I've matured and grown since then. And I thought I was pretty mature, but now I can see how that wasn't really true. I see how this whole experience has shaped me to become a lot more mature and understanding and aware. So it's hard to say how I would respond or how I would have done things differently because I have learned so much and my perspective is so much different now. But I believe that if I had even gone to him and told him, let's say he didn't forgive me, I believe that I would have had a lot less hate towards myself. I think I would have forgiven myself a lot sooner. I think I would have had a lot more grace and love for myself had I shown up in a way that I felt proud of. But having all of these bad decisions, because I felt like they were bad for me, stacked on top of then not responding to it in a way that I'm proud of either, it's just been years and years of a lot of guilt and disappointment in myself, and trying to repair trust and love for myself has been excruciating.
That's the stuff that I watched you go through, and how for years it seemed like emotions were so close to the surface and your confidence was completely shattered. And just trying to get through the day to day. It was difficult to see and know that there's very little that other people can do in that. And like you said, navigating that relationship with your children, but also the anger. And I understand his anger, but like from your now ex, I appreciated how you said you need to make sure there's space to be angry. A lot of clients will say to me, like, we keep going through this over and over again. I just want to move on. Yes, I made a mistake, but allowing that space so they are going to come back to it again and again because of that betrayal, especially sexual betrayal. This intimacy that you had, it takes so long to heal from that. And again, I don't want to deter people from actually doing this. It is a part of the process, but know that it's not just, okay, let them feel their feelings once or twice or three times. It might be years. Say you did stay with him, or even though you're co parenting, you're still having the results of that. Can you speak to that a little bit? How that hasn't stopped and how you are making spaces for that even still?
Yeah. He says that he forgives me. I think that's true to a degree, but I would argue that there's still some punishment that I think happens that I don't think it's conscious. I don't think he's, oh, I want to punish Abby, but it is still there. That's really hard. But I just have to continue to tell myself to have compassion for him because I disrupted his entire life. I did this to him. It's okay for him to be angry, and it's okay for it to come and go, and it does. After I left that marriage and tried to make the relationship with the other guy work, he had cheated on me multiple times too. I had to see what that was like. I had to try to repair with someone that had lied and hurt me in a lot of ways, and even though it was terrible and I don't wanna live it again, it was a good way for me to see what it feels like, and I do think there has to be a level of acceptance of, yep, I have to still have gentleness and love when that anger pops up. When it comes back, rather than being defensive, I need to make it about them, not about me. I need to just hug them, hold them, be in that space with them, feel that pain with them. Because if they keep going back to it, it's probably because they don't actually feel that you understand their pain. So they just want to feel that you actually understand. And I think sitting in that pain with them rather than being defensive and rather than being like, this is making me uncomfortable. I don't like that you're making me remember all the things I did to you. It's not about you. Like, it needs to just be like, yeah, I remember. I'm so sorry I did that to you. Like, I am like here with you now. And like just feeling that with them, that's really what they're asking for.
That's beautifully said. And in a tall order, when you have so much guilt and shame about it, you probably want to avoid that, not go back to it again and again, because it's probably triggering for you too to remember how dark and terrible that was. You probably want to be held yourself and reassured. But being big enough to be like, this is not about me, this is about their pain. The betrayal that they experienced is still continuing on a lot of levels, and they are trying to come back from that broken trust and from that heartache. And what can I do to be available for them again and again if I need to, because that is the natural result of the choices that I made. Not hating yourself for it, but making space to be there and to be present with them in the way that you're talking. You said it so well. Just like holding them, just tending to them. Brene Brown talks about that, being in that space with them, going down in that hole and just holding them instead of getting defensive. Thank you for sharing your story, but shifting for just a minute for those that maybe have moved into that affair and they're in that space again, they're justifying things. And what if they say to themselves, like, I deserve to be happy? No, this is actually different. No, I do really think this is going to work. Anything else you could say to those people that are like, there's no way I can be honest. I deserve this. This is different. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. What would you say to those people?
That's hard because I think that if you're in that space, I don't think you're operating from the healthiest perspective. All of that is very me. I deserve this. And if you're lacking accountability and self awareness, I'm not judging it though. I know I was in that space. There were moments where I was like, this feels really good. And I don't want to face the reality of what these consequences might be. I just really like feeling this way. And that's all I was focused on. Hard because my advice would be to challenge that. But are they really in the headspace that they even can? Maybe journaling to yourself or opening up to someone that you really can talk to and be really brutally honest, someone that you really trust, where you can tell them everything and they can give you some feedback. Hopefully, this is a healthy individual, not someone that will just validate your poor behavior because they themselves aren't very aware or accountable. I found for myself writing out journal entries like, what advice would my future self give? Or if I were to have a conversation with my younger self about what I'm doing right now, would she be disappointed? Would she have advice? Would she be like, what are you doing? That perspective helped me. I think it's hard to give advice on that perspective because I don't think anyone's really going to take advice when they're in that headspace until they are ready to see things for themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They love that fantasy so much, it's hard to step outside of it. Not that there's not hope, but they have to choose to take that step into that scary part. They have to choose that bravery, and maybe they're not there yet, and hopefully they will be soon. But this is to all those people out there that may be flirting with that or in those beginning stages, or maybe it's a family member that they're trying to better understand. But I love how you're speaking to so many of these things, helping them to see it in a way that maybe they wouldn't have before. And is this something that's going to last? Chances are very high that this other person will find out. Somehow it's going to come out. And the longer it goes, the worse those natural consequences will be.
And when that secret is gone, you might be surprised at how you suddenly don't really crave this person in the same way that you thought you would, or that these ideas of the future together suddenly don't seem as appealing because once you remove that secret and a big chunk of that excitement and you are brought back to reality, can that person really exist in reality with you? Statistically speaking, it's a relationship that's not going to work. And then they're probably not someone, and you yourself are probably not someone that can be in a healthy relationship because you are both actively living in a space of something that you wouldn't be proud of or you wouldn't be okay with if you were the partner. So they're not actually someone showing up as a good person if they're actively in that. I believe I was a good person, yet I was still making these decisions where I was doing things that were very against my core values. And my integrity was out the window. So, was I actually a good person to be in a relationship with in that space? No. And either is the other person. So, it's just not something that is going to have real value to you outside of those like immediate desires in that fantasy, if that makes sense. I
No,
don't
it
know.
definitely does. And I have so many questions for you, and I know you can't respond to all of them. Just thinking about how my clients would respond. What about this? What about those, if you can just very briefly say, those that actually think, no, I really do think that this other person is probably a better fit than my spouse?
I think the reason you believe that is because you're showing up with honesty with that person.
Yeah.
I think because you're robbing that of your partner. There was a reason you chose your partner. And I'm not saying maybe they're in a marriage that they shouldn't be in. Maybe they are. I don't know. But you're actively making choices where you're leaning into one person over the other. So you are choosing to be intimate and honest with someone else, and you're not giving your partner the same opportunity. And my guess is if you did, they could be that for you, especially if you have children and you've grown up together, or you've built a life together. That's more substantial. And if you have genuine concerns that are like non negotiables, that are like, yeah, this will not work, then why aren't you just getting out of that marriage anyway? If that's something you've already come to terms with. But if you realize you're terrified of that person finding out, or you feel super conflicted of, I don't know what to do, I don't know which person to choose. I think no, it's that you don't want to lose your significant other, and you don't want to destroy your family, but you also just want to have this thing that is exciting and you're hoping has no consequence.
I know I've thrown a lot at you, and I know you can't speak to everybody's situation. So I feel like you're doing an incredible job at helping people understand what that could look like and being really honest with themselves. The last couple of questions I have, let's start with one. How did you begin that process of forgiving yourself? Say somebody's okay, I've listened to what Abbie and Kendra have been talking about. I feel like I'm ready to take those steps towards this. And I know it's going to get messy and complicated, and I might lose everything. How do you start to forgive yourself and start those
Mm.
first steps?
I think I kept looking for shortcuts. I kept hoping that there was a less painful way to go through things, and there wasn't. So I had to lose both men. I had to get to know myself better. I had to learn a lot. I had to get a lot better at self-soothing. I was actually just talking with my boyfriend this morning about how one thing that helped me a lot was my anxiety was debilitating, but I still had a family I needed to provide for. I still had to work. I still had to show up. Like I still had to function, even though I felt like I had nothing in me to function on a very basic level, but I had to do it anyway. And one of the things that helped me a lot was I had to get comfortable talking out loud to myself all the time. Like every morning, sometimes as I was trying to fall asleep, but I remember a lot in the mornings, I'd wake up with this dread of just feeling like I would have preferred not to have woken up at all. And so every day was a painful reminder of the reality of my life. And I would lay in bed and I would just speak out loud to myself and just say, it's okay, Abby. These are just feelings and they will pass. You will be happy again. These are really hard things and you are loved. you do have a purpose. You do have value. And I would just have to say these things out loud to myself. And I did that a lot. And I had to dig deep for a lot of deeper healing. I talked before about how I did this program with our other sister. It was a 7-week program with a book and a discussion group, and there was a lot of different practices in there. That was really helpful to me. As far as forgiving myself, I don't think I'm there yet. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I ever will be. I'd like to believe that I will be, but I can't imagine ever being to a point in my life where I will be like, it's okay that I did what I did. I think I have more like love and compassion for myself now than I have had in the last few years. But also, I think there's a lot of healing. And now I'm in a relationship that I feel very safe and stable in. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel excited about my future. I feel hopeful. I don't feel as afraid. And I think there's a lot of healing in that. You can't just jump into a relationship and hope that you'll just heal and forget about it all because you won't. I tried that. I had to go through a lot of that by myself and face my deepest fears. And I had to feel really terrible for a long time. And now I feel okay. And I feel excited and happy and hopeful. But it's been a long journey getting there.
Yes, it has. My hope is that people that are on any part of this journey with a family member, themselves personally, the beginning stages, the middle, the end, that they can glean some sort of hope from it. And I do think that can based on what you said. But I also appreciate you being honest that, like, maybe I won't ever completely forgive myself. Maybe those natural consequences will continue on some level my whole life. Like, maybe you'll see the results of grown up kids struggling with similar situations because of it or whatever. Some part of this will continue and that will continue to cause new layers of pain and heartache. And there's beauty in the things that you've learned and how you've grown and how you've leaned into that courage and how you've made repairs and how you've deepened connections. Just so many levels. And that would almost be another episode. My last question for you is for those that are listening that this resonates, wherever they are on this journey, maybe specifically to those in the beginning steps, what can people do to protect themselves and their families from being in a similar situation with these long term consequences so they don't have to experience the same pain that you're feeling?
I think it all comes down to honesty and bravery. I think that if we can make the connection that intimacy and love can have a much deeper outcome by going through really hard things and risking a lot, which I think is, again, what we're ultimately looking for. Those of us that have fallen into affairs or in affairs or thinking about affairs, it's because we're craving intimacy and understanding and feeling alive again. And it might just be an identity crisis. Whatever it is, we crave that connection and we think we have it in this shallow relationship, which doesn't feel shallow. It'll make think you it's something rare and it's not. But if we choose to say the really hard things, we're literally like reaching out our hand to our partner and inviting them to join us into a much more intimate relationship.
Such a beautiful place to end that idea of reaching out that hand. And I want to just reiterate a few different things that you said. I think you're right. So many clients talk about it feeling like an identity crisis or getting to this space where they don't have the words. They don't even know what it is that's happening, but it feels off. And I think a lot of times that is that disconnection, that complacency, that boredom, that like something is missing, but they don't know what. And a lot of times that is that deeper connection with their spouse or their partner. There are several elements that it could be. Like it might be dissatisfaction with your career or plenty of things, right? But at the core of that, they're seeking to feel alive. They're seeking to feel connected. And instead, they're taking this shortcut. You talked a lot about shortcuts to this counterfeit, this thing that can't last, that's pretend. It's like a virtual reality game instead of the real thing. It's like, yeah, you can do that your whole life, but that's a shadow of the real world. It's never going to be enough. I'm so grateful you're willing to speak to that and to be honest about it because we glamorize it in movies and shows, and people that go through it are like, oh, yeah, it's just affairs are just a part of life, or cheating and doing whatever you want to do. So thank you for being honest and sharing the natural results of that and what it actually looks like after that drug has run its course. Thanks for your bravery and your honesty and speaking to this to help other people. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks. If my terrible decisions can have some sort of a positive impact, that will feel a little bit better. Maybe will help aid me in some of my forgiveness a little.
I do believe that it will. These clients that I haven't been in a similar situation, and the things that you say, your story, as heartbreaking as it is, it does help. You're the best and very brave. So thank you. If people want to reach out because they're struggling with something, is there a way people can reach you?
I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone. I would encourage them to reach out if that's helpful. I have an Instagram. It's just Abbie Tait, ABBIETAIT. And they can message me on there or Facebook Messenger.
We can put it in the show notes, your ways to get a
Yeah.
hold of you. Even though you're willing to be helpful, please reach out to a therapist and all of those things. But if you're scared for those first steps and you just have a question for Abbie, it sounds like she's willing for you to reach out to her. And thank you for sharing your story to help people in that similar situation. And I do believe it will help. So appreciate you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you. I hope you enjoyed part 2 with Abbie Tait. I absolutely love having episodes with people that are open and honest and raw and vulnerable and teach us from their stories things that facts alone cannot do. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with family and friends, put it on social media, leave a review. All of those things help us grow and help us reach those that are struggling and want to improve their life fulfillment and take life to the next level. Thank you for all of your support, and we'll see you back here every Monday. Hey friends, if you enjoyed this episode, a quick 30-second share can help someone else find support and help this podcast grow. Leaving a review on Apple Podcasts boosts visibility and keeps the show alive. Your simple acts make a big difference. I'll see you back here each week for more life-changing episodes.